Hello and welcome to GuyLogicGaming. My name is Temko and this is Cuphead, a 2D boss rush game. It's a little bit of a weird title in one regard only, and that is its art style. Other than that, it's a rock-hard boss attack game with some platforming elements. And you might be thinking, god damn it, yet another platformer on the Steam store. Why do people keep making these? And the answer is because sometimes you have a gem like Cuphead, a gem that combines the most excellent ideas of a genre and blends them together nearly seamlessly. But before we dive into the boss fighting excellence and head bashing annoyance of failing over and over again, I do want to take a look at the options menu and talk a little bit about PC performance and settings, because there are a couple of issues here in my opinion on the PC version. Audio, you have 3 volume sliders. This is pretty much par for the course, nothing really special or unique. It does the job, no complaints whatsoever. Visuals, you have full screen or windowed, facing on or off, pretty straightforward. Overscan, it creates these black bars to create this old retro look even further, like you have an old 1930s, 1940s, 1950s CRT TV, which is a pretty cool idea. It just isn't that great for gameplay, as it creates a little bit of a issue when you're trying to cover for fast-moving projectiles. So if you need overscan, it's great. Otherwise, I don't bother with it. Color bleed, same thing. Controls though, I do have a couple of issues because holy hell are the default controls a pile of absolute ass. Rebind everything. I don't care if you're using a keyboard or a controller, there is no mouse support anywhere in this game, which is always a mark against the title on PC, but the default controls are atrocious, and I fully rebound them myself, and you need to do so for yourself as well. I do use the arrow keys for movement, I use Q, W, E for my various attack thingies, and then I have shift as well as spacebar for some of the special actions. Change this to your own heart's content, change this to however you want it, but please, by all things holy, don't leave it at the defaults. The same goes for the controller, which does have rebindable keys in the PC, which is a plus to the game. The fact that you definitely need to rebind them could have been done a little bit better. That said, that is everything and anything about the options menu, because it is a 2D, mostly side-scrolling title in a very particular art style with a very particular type of animation that deserves your undivided attention, and why I don't really care that there's no advanced video options. Obviously, the game runs at 60 FPS, anything else would be unacceptable, and anything above a toaster. And to the best of my knowledge, they basically got a damn thing running on a toaster. So there is that as well. Buttery smooth, clean, 60 FPS or higher if you want it. No complaints whatsoever. So let's dive into the game and I'll show you a couple of the game bosses and talk about various mechanics. So loading into the game, the very first thing you notice is this very unique and striking art style, very reminiscent of early 1900s cartoons. If you've ever seen a old Mickey Mouse cartoon or old Donald Duck cartoon, this is that animation style, this is that type of rendering with this old school vibe. It looks fantastic, very unique, very striking, very characteristic to the game. It just fits so well thematically on every single regard. But usually with these kinds of art styles, they take a lot of work, and I can't imagine the extraordinary and mind-boggling amount of work that must have been put into this art style and overall animation of this title. That was done frame by hand, which is staggering amounts of dedication from developers, and it shows off. But the issue then comes from the fact that usually they sort of run out of art down the line. They only have so many art assets, they only have so many enemies, they only have so much terrain to work with. And in a game all about fighting bosses that have half a dozen phases on occasion, you do want that unique art style preserved and that unique dimension to those bosses preserved. And I can say with some extreme confidence that the game's art style across bosses, across levels, across zones is phenomenal. Never have I encountered a fight, a boss, or a mechanic in any level where I felt it was being overly reused from another level. This doesn't mean that there's no notifying characteristics, but there's never something that feels samey, never something that you think and look at and go, oh yeah, I've seen this already 5 levels ago, it just repainted a different color. Everything feels and is hand-drawn and painstakingly put together to be the perfect blend of comedy and historical accuracy to the art style. truly wonderful. But talking about those bosses and talking about those levels and mechanics, what does the game really offer? Well, primarily it offers a bunch of bosses that each have a half a dozen to 2 dozen phases depending on the boss. Obviously, earlier bosses introduce you to mechanics and things, so they're a lot simpler than bosses later down the line. Pretty straightforward. Various levels in between, like you're watching right now, are so the platforming levels, running gun levels, where you can gather gold coins which you can use in the store to buy upgrades for your character. And these upgrades are fairly important, not because they power you up in some specific or distinct manner. Not at all, actually. All of them are side grades. The one I'm using gives me invulnerability frames when I dash around, which you normally don't have. There's a different one that gives you homing bullets. There's one that gives you a HP boost, but reduces your overall damage output. There's special guns and special weapons you can toggle and turn on as you get and unlock them down the line. Truly an amazing amount of different weapons, different attacks, and different combinations you can use to defeat various bosses. And on many occasions, some fights are very much a lot easier if you use a specific weapon or a specific skill. The fight that you're seeing here right now, I found much easier when I had the invulnerability frame dash than when I didn't have that at all, when I was using a HP boost one. Because on a certain level, getting those dodges I found very difficult. Getting that invulnerability frame allowed me to dodge past that mechanic completely and focus on the rest of the fight. Focusing on those dodges allowed me to then survive when I was trying to fight later down the line. And each boss also has a very distinct set of identifiable mechanics. Every step of the way, the phases are always the same, but they're not in the same order. A boss may have 5 phases and throw phase 3 at you for no reason at the start, or it might start with a different rotation of mechanics or attacks initially. This means that boss fights are a little bit harder to learn, but by cutting them up in various distinct phases and various distinct patterns each, you get a grasp of them like you would in Dark Souls or any other game such as Fury or anything like that. The boss fights themselves are immensely challenging, and this is the core of the game. If you don't enjoy challenging boss fights where you're gonna get killed time and time again, probably stay on the same boss for 30, 40, 50 minutes at a go, trying to figure out how to beat them, learning their patterns, learning their mechanics, learning how they switch things about, then this is not going to be the game for you. Art style aside, this is not really a platformer, even with those platformy levels. It is very much a very hard, high difficulty curve boss killing game, and it is phenomenal in that regard. Each boss is distinctly unique, and across the first island alone, you fight a sentient carrot, 2 sentient frogs, you fight a Cupid in the sky, you fight a tree, and that's just the first island and the first level. So if you think you might enjoy that, this is that game. But many people can call this game near perfect, and I'm gonna have to disagree with that. The game isn't perfect. There's definitely some serious flaws with the title, and I'm not sure if these flaws are just to me personally because this is not the type of game I often play, or if it's something that is much more apparent to other people as well. But the 2 main issues I have with the game is the feedback it gives you when you hit an enemy. There is a slight white little flash on the screen when you hit something, but the bosses mostly ignore it and don't really react. And on many boss fights, I've often had myself wondering, what if I just stopped attacking? Would they then not die? Would they just go on to the next phase when the timer ticks over? Because you don't get the feedback that you're actually damaging them. There is no health bar, there is no indication on the character models of the bosses or of the enemies you're fighting that they somehow get bloody or beaten up. It's damage, 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 phase shift, damage, 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 victory screen. And that is definitely frustrating on the tactile feedback side when you're trying to get those kills on those bosses, getting an indication of how far you are along. Now, that said, whenever you die, and you've seen me die a couple times already, you get this little running chart that shows you the finish line of each level and how far you've gotten along, which is truly fantastic. I love that mechanic. It's such a tiny little thing to show you, hey, you're gotten halfway, try again, maybe you'll get 3/4 of the way, maybe you'll get lucky. It shows a level of care to the details of every part, from the way each character's painstakingly animated to just that little blurb that shows you how far you got along with a level. Every step of the way, the game shines through in quality, which is very, very impressive. Now, the game has a 2-player co-op. I sadly haven't had a chance to play that at all. Frankly, most people I play with generally don't like these types of games, so I'm stuck playing alone. Not the end of the world. Solo, this game is a fantastic experience and well worth asking price if you like boss battles. Now, the second issue I ran into with this game is somewhat similar to the fact that the feedback on the combat isn't as great, and that is 100% the control scheme. Why in 2017 a game doesn't have proper mouse support in the menus at least? I could understand it from a game balance standpoint that you restrict attacks in the same direction you're facing. Sure, I could even understand they being a directional attack directions, sure. What I don't understand is why the default key bindings are absolute ass and why there is no functional mouse support in the game, even in the menus. I would have liked a directional control on my mouse. Just have the left mouse button for my main attack, my right mouse button for my special attack, and my middle mouse button to switch between attack modes. But no, I have to use two hands on the keyboard, which is never an enjoyable experience to me personally on a keyboard. And from a gamepad perspective, you also have to rebind basically everything, so I wasn't a fan there as well. Outside of those two issues, the lack of feedback when you hit an enemy, and the lack of control optimization towards the PC user are the two biggest criticisms I have. And when those are the only criticisms I can think of for a game that has so much content in it, because every boss fight is fantastic. From the flower that has 4 phases where you have to figure out what they do, from the 2 sentient frogs that throw flying boxing punches at you. Every step of the way the game is filled with character, every step of the way the game is oozes with personality, and the different ways you can upgrade and side grade your character allow for a varied experience. Now there are a couple of mechanics in the game that I didn't really use a lot of, and I'm sure if you are a completionist, if you want to get achievements, or if you are trying to get a high score or score attack, which this game supports extremely well, if you are into that sort of thing, then parries and dodges and stacking up your max boost bonus for your special attack, all of those are very important. But if you're just trying to kill a boss, then really you don't really care. You're happy enough that you got that bastard with 1 hit point left and having burned through all your special attacks, and who cares about parrying, because if you don't have to, that's an extra movement you have to do, and oh god, you're gonna get killed yet again, because you will get killed yet again. Overall, Cuphead is a phenomenal boss rush experience, a okay platform experience, a fantastic visual experience, a great audio experience. Altogether, it is a fantastic title and well worth your time and money, if you at least can survive not smashing your head through the wall when you die at the same boss for the 900th time. Do check out Cuphead. It is available right now over on Steam for $20 or your regional equivalent. Thank you for watching. If you like this video, press that like button. If you didn't like this video, there's a dislike button for exactly that purpose. And if you want to see more content like this on the channel, do hit that subscribe button down below. And if you want to support GuyLogicGaming further, you can check us out on Patreon. There's a link in the description below for exactly that. So until then, I wish you a good day, and until next time, right here on GuyLogicGaming.